Can we be real for a second? Something is shifting right now, and I think you already feel it. This low hum underneath your days that you haven't quite been able to name. I'm Emma, and I have to tell you, this isn't a casual reading. This one's heavier, and it's specific. This is a longer one too, so get comfortable. Take a real breath, because I want to walk through this slowly and let every part of it actually land. Let's get into it. Something in you has been building for a while. You've been waking up with this strange mix of anticipation and dread lately, haven't you? That undercurrent running beneath an otherwise normal-looking life. Something feels like it's on the verge of shifting, even though nothing on the surface has visibly changed yet. That dissonance isn't in your head. It's real, and it's been building for longer than you'd probably admit out loud. This message is for the person who's been sitting quietly, watching the world move around them, feeling almost like a foreigner in their own life, scrolling, searching for something that would finally make sense of this pressure, this weight, this hollow feeling that seems to follow you room to room. You haven't been looking for validation of your choices. You've been looking for validation of your essence. The part of you that feels too much, sees too much, and has been quietly carrying a responsibility nobody actually asked you to pick up. This is an exhaustion that goes bone deep. The kind a good night's sleep genuinely cannot fix. I can see the micro-tension sitting in your shoulders right now, the way you're holding your breath slightly, waiting for the next thing to go wrong. Because it always does, doesn't it? At least, it has, up until now. I want to slow down on this feeling for a moment, because I don't think it gets named honestly very often. This isn't ordinary tiredness that a weekend off could fix. It's the kind of exhaustion that comes from years of being hyper alert to everyone else's needs while quietly neglecting your own. Of reading a room before you've even fully walked into it, bracing yourself automatically for whatever emotional weather might be waiting there. That kind of vigilance costs something real over time, even when nobody around you ever sees the toll it's taking. You've been everyone's therapist, not your own. There's a specific pattern I need to name here. And it's not about one person or one situation. It's a repeating shape in your life. The feeling of being used for your energy, your time, your heart. You're the one people come to when they're falling apart, when they need fixing, cheering on, listening to. You absorb the mess of the people around you and somehow still manage to smile through it. But something in you has been quietly screaming for a while now. You're tired of being the emotional landing pad for people who won't do their own work. That's the real weight, carrying a room's worth of tension because you know you can handle it, and you don't want to burden anyone else with it. Think about the last time you were in a group of people. You could feel everything. The unspoken resentment, the hidden anxieties, all of it. And somewhere along the way, you made an unspoken pact with yourself to be the one who smoothed it all over. You're genuinely good at it, maybe masterful, but look at the actual cost. Look at where that's left you standing right now, depleted, running mostly on fumes, because you've been giving your life force away freely to anyone who reached for a piece of it. And I think the part that stings most, if we're being honest, is that nobody ever explicitly asked you to take on this role. You simply noticed at some point that nobody else in the room was going to hold things together, so you quietly volunteered yourself over and over, until it stopped feeling like a choice at all and started feeling like an identity. That's a heavy thing to carry without anyone fully acknowledging it. And it's exactly why this reading exists today, to finally say it out loud on your behalf. Your energy was never meant to be free for everyone. Your energy was never actually free, even when you gave it that way for years. Your heart isn't a public park. Your soul isn't a hotel anyone can check into and leave a mess behind in. You're learning a genuinely painful lesson right now, that people have to earn a seat at your table, and that feels foreign to you, almost like it's working against your own nature. Your nature is to love freely, to give without holding back, to assume everyone has the same capacity for love that you carry, and you're realizing, painfully, that not everyone does. Some people are so depleted inside that they feed on your fullness without ever intending to give anything back. Emotional vampires in the plainest sense. And they may have been drinking from you for years, maybe most of your life, and you let them because the alternative, closing off, protecting yourself, felt like a betrayal of who you actually are. But here's the freeing, if slightly terrifying truth underneath all of it. You were never meant to be for everyone. You're a specific frequency, and not everyone can hold that, and honestly, not everyone is supposed to. The way you feel the world is too big for small containers, too real for people still living inside comfortable illusions. And I want you to actually sit with that instead of rushing past it, because it changes everything about how you interpret past rejection or distance from certain people. It was never really about your worth being insufficient. It was about a mismatch in capacity. Some containers simply weren't built to hold what you naturally carry, no matter how much either of you wanted it to work. That's not a flaw in you needing correction, it's just information, telling you clearly where your actual people are more likely to be found. Someone has been feeding on your light. You walk into a room and disrupt the status quo without ever trying to. You shine a light into corners people have worked hard to keep dark. You name things as they actually are. For people used to hiding behind a mask, that makes you feel dangerous to them. Not because you're aggressive, but simply because you're authentic in a way they aren't used to being around. There's real tension in the air around you right now, something ready to shed. An old skin of responsibility you've worn for far too long. You're tired of parenting your friends, anchoring your coworkers, holding everyone steady while quietly falling apart yourself. I think you're on the edge of something breaking open, but not in a destructive way. This isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. The sound of a cage door finally swinging open. And in the middle of all this internal upheaval, you might feel strangely stuck, like everyone around you is moving and changing while you stay frozen. That's an illusion, though. You're actually moving faster than you ever have, just not somewhere your feet can track. You're moving where your soul is, recalibrating an internal compass that's been spinning for a long time, finally landing on the right road. I also want to name that this in-between stage, the one where the old life hasn't fully released you yet and the new one hasn't fully arrived, is genuinely one of the hardest parts of any real transformation. It doesn't photograph well. It doesn't make a satisfying story to tell people yet. But it's not wasted time and it's not failure. It's the quiet middle chapter every real shift requires. The part nobody shows on the highlight reel, but everyone who's actually grown through something real has had to walk through anyway. You ignored the red flags because you love hard. Let's talk about a specific dynamic you've been living inside. Someone, maybe more than one someone, who has this particular gift for making you feel responsible for their happiness. Their emotional state somehow became your problem to manage. They're intelligent, captivating, and broken in a way that got dressed up as depth. And at first, you fell for exactly that. The deep conversations, the shared secrets, the sense of being the only one who truly understood them. They made you feel needed, and needed felt like love for a while. You took them on almost like a project, a mission, telling yourself that if you just loved them enough, gave enough, they'd finally heal into the version of themselves you could sense hiding underneath the darkness. Instead, you got burned. You poured yourself in, and what came back was depletion, not growth. They're often skilled, even unintentionally, at making you feel like you still owe them something, even after they've taken nearly everything you had to give. Maybe their pain became a kind of leverage. Maybe your empathy became the exact thing that kept you trapped there, staying, giving more, again and again. And I want to gently point out something here, because it matters for how you move forward. Recognizing this pattern doesn't mean everything you felt for them was fake or foolish. The connection itself may have been genuinely real at moments. That's often what makes this so disorienting to untangle. Real tenderness and real depletion can exist in the same relationship simultaneously. Acknowledging that you were drained doesn't erase that some of what passed between you actually mattered. Both things get to be true at once. Not choosing is still a choice. And here's the hardest part to admit honestly. You saw the signs. You felt the soul-deep fatigue every time you were around them. Some part of you knew something was wrong, and you quietly silenced that inner voice because you were too busy listening to theirs instead. Now, finally, you're starting to turn your attention back inward, listening to that quiet voice that's been trying to reach you for years. The one that keeps saying, you deserve more than this. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve real safety. This is a moment of genuine choosing for you. I know decisions feel almost impossible from inside this headspace, like any move could be the wrong one. But listen closely here. Indecision is still a decision. Staying in limbo is still a choice. And honestly, it's the most dangerous one available to you, because it keeps you standing in the middle of the storm indefinitely instead of moving through it. You have to decide clearly that your peace is non-negotiable, that your energy, your heart, your very essence is sacred, and that not everyone automatically gets access to it just by asking. I know that sounds simple stated out loud, but living it is genuinely difficult, especially for someone with your capacity for empathy. It means disappointing people sometimes. It means tolerating the discomfort of someone being upset with you without immediately rushing to fix that discomfort the way you always have before. That's uncomfortable territory for you specifically, because you've spent so long being the one who smooths things over. Choosing your own peace over someone else's temporary comfort is going to feel selfish at first. It isn't. It's just unfamiliar. Letting go means releasing the story, not just the person. Letting go here isn't just about releasing a person. It's about releasing the entire story you told yourself about who they could become, the fantasy version you kept investing hope into. It's releasing the guilt attached to finally walking away. You've been holding on to potential, but potential was never a currency you could actually spend on your own happiness. You have to look honestly at what actually is instead of what could theoretically be. What is that you're exhausted. What is that you haven't been seen or valued the way you deserve. What is that you've been used. When you get quiet, when you stop making excuses on someone else's behalf, whatever truth remains, that's the truth you build your next steps on. I keep seeing an image of you standing steady in the middle of a storm, but genuinely unafraid this time. A real calm sitting in your center that wasn't there before. The wind is still loud, the rain still hits your face, but your feet are planted now. You've stopped trying to control the weather itself, and you're simply letting it move through you, trusting you're strong enough to withstand it fully. That image matters because it's different from the strength you're used to performing. This isn't gritted teeth endurance, forcing yourself through something while pretending it doesn't hurt. It's a much quieter kind of strength, the sort that doesn't need an audience or recognition to be real. Nobody has to see you standing steady in that storm for it to count. You'll know, and eventually, that private knowing becomes more valuable to you than any outside validation ever was. This breakdown is actually a breakthrough. Everything painful right now, all this chaos, is actually clearing ground for something new. The path forward is genuinely paved with the debris of the past, and you don't have to fully clear that debris before you take your first step through it. You just have to start walking. As you do, you're going to notice yourself gradually stop checking the rearview mirror. You'll stop hoping certain people change. You'll stop waiting on apologies that were never coming. Stop checking for approval you no longer need. In that open space you've created, the whole landscape around you starts to shift. You stop chasing and start becoming instead. You stop seeking and start radiating. You realize this was never really about finding the right people out there. It's about finally becoming the right person for yourself first. You stop functioning as a rescuer and start functioning as a magnet instead. And when that shift genuinely happens, the whole game changes around you. The people actually meant for you, your real people, are going to feel that shift and recognize it clearly. Your entire reality quietly reorganizes itself around this steadier, more centered version of who you're becoming. I also want to say, this reorganizing rarely happens all at once, dramatically, in one single moment. More often, it's gradual. A friendship that quietly deepens because it was always built on something real. An old dynamic that fades naturally because it never had real substance underneath the surface to begin with. You may not even notice the shift happening in real time. You'll just look up one day and realize the people around you feel fundamentally different than they used to. Lighter, more mutual, less like work. You're not losing people, you're outgrowing them. This isn't magic, by the way. It's closer to physics, the law of resonance in action. You stop attracting broken projects and people who need fixing, and you start attracting wholeness instead. Strength. A quiet, unshakable confidence that mirrors your own. The people who aren't on the same frequency as your growth are going to start falling away naturally. Not because you're pushing them out, but because the sheer momentum of who you're becoming makes it genuinely hard for them to keep holding on. That's not cruelty on your part. That's simply what real growth does. It changes the shape of who fits comfortably around you. Some relationships were only ever built to survive at the old frequency, and that's allowed to be true without you needing to feel guilty about it. And I want to be clear. This isn't about becoming cold or unreachable. It's about becoming selective in a way you've never fully allowed yourself to be before, protecting the parts of you that were always meant to be sacred, rather than freely available to anyone who reached for them. Some of you may already be watching this happen in real time. A friend group that's quietly shifted, a family dynamic that feels different lately. An old friend you simply don't reach for the way you used to. That's not a loss to grieve endlessly. It's evidence the work is actually taking hold. Grief and relief can sit side by side here too. Missing a version of a relationship while also feeling genuinely lighter without the version that actually existed. Someone whole is coming, not someone to fix. I've mentioned a future dynamic through this reading, and I want to be specific about what they are not. They are not a project, not a problem for you to solve, not a mission for you to complete. They are whole, already on their own, and the relationship you build together won't be centered on fixing each other. It'll be centered on witnessing each other fully. They won't need you to take care of them, and you won't need to take care of them either. You'll complement one another instead. Your depth meeting their light, their steadiness meeting your intensity. This person is what becomes available once you finally stop choosing from whoever happens to be available and start attracting whoever's actually aligned with who you've become. They're evidence in a real sense that the quiet, deepest prayers you've carried have genuinely been heard. You may have believed love was something you had to sacrifice yourself to earn, something requiring you to be smaller, more convenient, endlessly accommodating. This is different. This is the specific feeling of being truly seen, fully, by someone operating on equal footing with you. And I think it's worth naming what this actually feels like in daily practice, not just in a big romantic gesture, but in small, ordinary moments. It looks like someone remembering a detail you mentioned once in passing weeks ago. It looks like them checking in without needing to be asked. It looks like conflict that resolves without either of you disappearing on each other afterward. None of that is dramatic. All of it is exactly the kind of steady, reciprocal care you've been quietly starving for. They will protect your peace, not drain it. This person is going to say things to you that genuinely surprise you. Things that don't match the narrative you've been quietly living inside for years. They'll call you beautiful in exactly the places you were once told were flaws. They'll recognize strength in moments you only ever felt weakness. They'll tell you they love the very things about you that other people tried to diminish or shrink. And slowly, you'll come to understand you were never actually the problem. You were simply with the wrong people for a long time. You were the fire, and they were the wind trying to blow you out. This time, you're meeting someone who adds oxygen instead, who fans the flame rather than fearing it, who looks at your intensity and genuinely says, "Finally." They don't just tolerate you being fully yourself, they celebrate it. And more than that, they protect it. That protection matters enormously in this next chapter, because for maybe the first time, you're going to feel safe enough to actually stop running. You won't have to be the strong one in every room anymore. You can set down what you've been carrying, not to become weak, but simply to finally rest. You are the author now, not the character. Before any of that arrives, though, you have to survive this current part. The part that feels like walking straight into fire. Saying no to what you've always said yes to. Releasing people with love, even when they don't leave gracefully. Disappointing people because you finally chose yourself instead. This part asks for real courage, the kind you may not have known you had until now. This message is for the ones who feel too much, love too hard, give too freely, and have been hurt by the very people they tried hardest to save. It's for the ones finally learning how to say no, standing right at the edge of real transformation, terrified and genuinely excited all at once. And this moment, right here, is the most important part of your whole story. The point where the character realizes they were never just a character. They're the author. The old story is finished. The pen is in your hands now, and you get to decide who earns a real part in the next chapter and who doesn't. You've survived enough, given enough. You are more than enough, and you've simply been too busy giving yourself away to fully recognize it yet. You're coming home to yourself now, and that's the whole point of everything we've walked through today. So take a breath and let it out slowly. You are the masterpiece here, and you are the author of what happens next. The leap looks terrifying from where you're standing, but you have wings you simply haven't used yet. If this resonated with you, drop a comment below. I read every single one. Like this video, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you very soon in the next reading. Sending you so much love. Bye.